Talk Erie, the Joel and Natalie Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State and having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. We're also live on YouTube and on Facebook. And I'm glad to welcome into the studio here Aaron Bush. He is a chef. He's been in the business a while. He has returned to Erie and is now the owner of Born and Braised, a new restaurant going into the old Hector's location, 18th and Liberty. And Aaron, we want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, of course, we like to hear origin stories. You did grow up in Erie. Kind of tell us, about where you went to school, how you grew up, that kind of thing,
Yeah, I grew up in Erie. My mother's whole side is from here. I went to Chestnut Elementary and Fairview Middle School, and I've been out for about 25 years.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So when you first left Erie, where did you go and what were you doing? Have you been in hospitality this whole time?
I've been in hospitality since I was about 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to college or?
I did go to college and culinary school briefly.
Oh, did you?
And sort of, abandoned it just to get deeper in the industry.
All right. And what like when you go to culinary school, is there a moment that generates like a spark of saying, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to make food, make people happy, serve up good vibes or whatever the thing may be.
I don't know that it happened in culinary school. I think
Yeah.
it might have happened in the industry itself. You work and you go to school, so you kind of get both views on the industry. The classroom setting and then the actual real world setting.
Sure. And so when we are talking about the parts of the job, because you have back of house, you have front of house, you've got you're going to be dessert focused, are you going to be on side dishes or whatever, tapas kind of thing, or I want to go with big entrees? Like, were there certain parts of the gig that you really gravitated to?
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a hands-on person, so I kind of gravitate more towards operations as opposed to sales and being the face of something. Mm-hmm. You hit every little element. I was typically back of house. I've dabbled in the front, but again, being a hands-on, and when it comes to the art aspect of everything, that's definitely in the back of house for me.
Well, that's cool. I'd love to hear a story from the early days. You know what I mean? Like, because again, in radio, it's this, the narrative is it all started in a little 1,000-watt AM station in some small town. For me, it was in Fredonia, New York, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what were those early days like for you? And again, those moments of revelation,
Well, I would say my first job in an actual full-service restaurant was a steakhouse in Garner, North Carolina. I was 21, and my entire staff in the back of house, they were all from Mexico.
Oh.
They were all a family, and they had all worked at this place for years. And, alongside learning the work ethic, learning, that they had everything so down pat, they all brought in their own food and cooked for themselves every day, and they didn't eat at the restaurant.
Huh.
And it was, a really good exposure to culture for me. And, seeing food that isn't just, continental American really kind of let me see that, okay, there's a whole other side of this, that it's going to take me a long time to see and learn.
That makes a lot of sense. And are some of those things even kind of bubbling up as you kind of create this new concept here in Erie?
Oh, absolutely. And I hate to put a label on what the concept is, as I've lived in, 1, 2, 5 different states, cooked in 4 different states, take a little bit of what I've learned with me. It's not always American, it could be from almost any country. There's a few things that I haven't dabbled in, but, living in, say, Miami, it's a very international city, so you get exposed to a lot.
I would imagine that the business and the taste of the dining public have changed? I won't put the words in your mouth. Have they changed immensely over 25 years, or just more tweaks and ebbs and flows, if you will?
So, it depends where you're at in the country, in my experience. There's food has become more progressive to the point where I'd say American food can be anything from chicken wings all the way to fried rice or, Vietnamese noodle soup. Having these third, fourth, fifth generation immigrants, we're all American now, I think that over the years, in an unfortunate light, the tastes of the American public have gone a bit more corporate. I think that, the need to feed the masses plays a role in that. I think convenience plays a role in that. And, it's sort of the opposite of how I grew up eating at home and having my parents cook at home. It's not that anymore. And that's kind of what I would like to bring back, is the less you process food, the fresher it is, the better taste, the better it is for you. So, that's kind of why I'm in it.
What did you grow up in a particular nationality? Italian, Polish, German?
No. I think we grew up eating kibas and sauerkraut. Pierogies.
Did you?
I mean, from Erie,
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that all of our stuff is working here. Just having issues, but can we see? Are we going to be expecting like a homemade recipe of kielbasa and sauerkraut? You think?
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay. I've definitely over the 20 years I've been doing this, I've done a lot of elevated things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've got to give the public what they want, and you can't go outside of that realm too much. But there's a certain way I've learned to do what I do, and certain thing that just comes out of me, and I can't fight it. That's what I've got to do. So.
Well, okay. So whenever we've talked to people in the restaurant business since last couple of years, we've talked about the bear. All right, and because it's basically what I understand is the closest that Hollywood has gotten to capturing high-end Michelin star type of restaurants. So, in your opinion, how accurate is the bear?
It's still very Hollywood, for sure. There was one season that I did really enjoy. I can't remember if it was I want to say it was the third season, but when it goes into the nostalgia aspect and the very human aspect of the industry, a lot of that really hit home. There's an episode where I forget the guy. It's Carmi's cousin goes to stage.
I just call him cousin.
Cousin, there you go. Where he goes to stage at a Michelin restaurant, and he learns polishing silverware and all these other things. And there's like a point to where it sparks like the importance of all this. And that's a very real thing.
So you've actually seen transformations of people, that you've worked with, or maybe even yourself, where they get under a new system, and whether it's the executive chef, the top chef, the name chef, I don't even know what the right words are, but he's establishing or she's establishing a system that changes the whole mindset of that new worker, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I want to say the biggest instance of that is when I went to work at a very large resort. This resort, I was 26, excuse me, and I went to this resort unlike anything I'd ever seen. There were 14 restaurant outlets. There were 2,500 employees.
Wow.
400 cooks, 200 chefs, and it was a property on 22 acres indoors. It just unlike anything I'd ever seen, And then the whole way to manage an operation like that, it has to be a certain way, which is the French brigade system. It's militant.
Really?
It's based on the French military, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, and what again? I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but heck, we have a chef here.
Yeah.
I think about like, I spent a lot of time in Nashville. I lived in Nashville.
Okay.
And the Opryland Hotel is monstrous. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I mean, they're just renowned from everything from 4-star steakhouses and things, the Old Hickory restaurant, to getting a hot dog, for the tourists. And just the supply chain stuff alone, handling the semis,
Yep.
kind of blows my mind. I would think a similar situation of how do you go from like big corporate food, to stuff that comes in boiling bags, to hey, this chef is going out there, and making sure every single mushroom is up to par, kind of thing, right?
Yep. Well, the resort I was at, it wasn't, some big corporate operation. It was still very hands-on and very real. This place, they knew how to hire. They knew how to vet people. They pulled in from all over the globe. And that just sort of trickles down to the cooks and the employees that are there. I think they told us that between all the employees on the property, there were 110 languages spoken.
Unreal.
So, there's the work and the industry shock, and then there's also the culture shock, and then living in a big city and all that. So it was just very eye-opening, to go into a kitchen in your 20s, only been cooking a couple of years, and, they didn't even provide us with our own tongs or knives to cook with or anything. We had to get our own.
So what was that first purchase of knives for you like? I mean,
well, the first
did you have to put it on a pay plan or something?
No. I mean, my first knife I got for $20, and I believe I bought it in the home goods section at Kohl's. It lasted me years, though.
Did it really?
It did.
Good for Kohl's.
Yeah. Right?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. This is exciting. Okay, so one last question, and then we're gonna go take a break and pivot on and talk about what you're doing here in at the old Hector's here. But what everybody wants to know is, does everybody call each other chef? Is that real?
It's real. It's more real in more deserved places. I like it. I think it's a good way to build people up. Some people could say there's only one chef in a kitchen. I've seen it, but I've seen very, very high level chefs, that control 1,000 people still call, the guy who's making salad chef. It's a term of endearment.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's keep going here. With us is Aaron Bush. He's an Erie boomerang. We're going to talk about that in a bit, too. But we're finding out more about the new restaurant, Born and Braised. Stay with us. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show on this Wednesday. Aaron Bush is our guest. He's a restaurateur making his way back to Erie and opening up a new restaurant here over at 18th and Liberty at the old Hector's. Again, the beloved location. It's called Born and Braised. So, Aaron, we'll talk about some other things that happened, but fast forward 25 years, and what caused you to boomerang back to town and say, hey, I'm going to try to make a go of it in Erie?
Well, I'd sort of circled the country a bit, North Carolina, Florida, Denver, and for one reason or another, I was back in Pittsburgh about 6 years ago. And then about a year.
What was the concept down there? What were you doing?
Well, I moved there with a girl I was with at the time. She had family from there, and then I was really struggling to find a place where I really fit in Pittsburgh, and I don't think I ever really found it. So, about a little over a year ago, there was a death in my family in Erie, and it just sort of brought me back.
Yeah. Wow. Oftentimes it is family that brings us back, right? And, responsibilities or what have you. I almost feel like that's a Carmine thing that happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and so, but that's a big difference from I'm coming back and maybe finding a place where I might fit to I want to try a concept myself. So what's the origins of your new restaurant?
Well, after almost 20 years in this industry, and I found a few places over the years that were good fits. You always progress and move on, especially in this industry. But the last few years of really struggling to find that, and really not seeing anywhere else to go, especially in the small area I'm in now. Some opportunity popped up, and just ended up working out. And I feel like the time is right.
So you found the landlord. I mean you have an open restaurant space, kind of famous. Do you remember it from growing up?
I do not at all. No.
Yeah.
No. I have a very vague memory of Luigi's across the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's just like something burned into my brain for being a kid.
Yeah. I mean, in the 90s, Hector's was still going pretty strong because I had several lunches and stuff there. But yeah, you probably, what do you do? Like just look around for?
I was looking online for property.
Yeah.
For restaurants for lease. I was working somewhere and I wasn't very happy, and I was looking for a way out, and I found it.
So, have you had a concept in a notebook like this whole time?
No. I've dabbled in different things over the years. I've been a beer brewer for a long time too. I used to own a business down in Florida for a few years. Home brewing, bottle shop. I taught classes for culinary schools down there because they weren't allowed to brew on campus. So everybody in that industry has a business plan ready to go, and a lot of restaurants do too. But I think over the years I just wanted to keep absorbing, and then one day it would just all sort of come out how it comes out.
Do you do a market analysis, or do you look? I mean, even if it's not formal,
no.
But do you kind of look around?
It's more of a Field of Dreams approach. If you build it and it's good, then they'll come.
It seems to be that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think that anywhere, I've worked in places in the most absurd locations that seem to be very successful. So, becoming a destination restaurant doesn't scare me at all.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be perfect location.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about the plans here, and be specific, like what timeline and
Sure.
what the menu might be like and so on.
Well, any business opening, there's delays, there's red
Sure.
tape to get through, there's all that. So, in a perfect world, I'm looking to open within a month. We're quite close. My first touch base 6 months ago with the owners of the building, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm already staffing. I already have most everything in place. So, when we do go live, we're going to have some friends and family come out for a couple nights and then open reservations up to the public.
And so, so are we talking? What kind of style of food? How what kind of market are you?
Got it. Yeah. So, along with the name and where we're at, I think a fair amount of meat and potatoes. Like I said before about how I believe American food can be a lot vaster than it ever has been in the past. It's not just hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken wings, So, I don't want to be too elevated and too exclusive. I really want to appeal to the masses. But again, there is a level of skill I've accumulated over the years that I really can't deny.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's somewhat elevated, but approachable.
Is that harder in this current, inflationary environment? It almost seems like the corner restaurant, the neighborhood restaurant or whatever, starting to hit prices that, that used to be kind of, nice restaurant prices,
Yeah, no, I see it. And, you could go to a tap house, for instance, and there's, a dip on the menu that's $17, And it seems like a reach, but, this is the world we live in these days, where people will pay the same for a Burger King burger delivered to their house.
That's true once you add all the fees, right?
Absolutely. So, I think having the craftiness to know how to hit price points and the ability to make these things in house and not pay extra because you're purchasing pre-made things, I think it's definitely possible to hit reasonable price points with more than reasonable food.
Yeah. And again, if you want to be a destination, like you say, you're not too concerned about location. It's pretty centrally located. Parking probably.
We do have our own parking lot.
Yeah, that's right in the back.
Pretty large parking lot. We have a lot of street parking around us, so that's great.
Yeah, and again, that has a classic bar. Are you maintaining that, or how's that work?
So the bar has been. It still stands as it stood forever, but it has been completely revamped. I personally built it out.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of wood tones. We stripped and went with the natural mahogany rail that was there. It's really nice. And then there's a nice built-in piece of furniture behind the bar that we also revamped, and wood tones.
What are the floors still the old tile?
Floors are the same. Yeah.
Anybody who remembers? it was like that classic checkerboard tile.
It's wild. They're like 1-inch tiles, but they're not pieces like square pieces that they put down. Now they're individual tiles, and they were put down, I believe, in 1910.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna have more with Aaron here coming up. It's Talk Erie, the Joel Natale Show. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show here, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio at 5th and State. And we're talking about hospitality and a new restaurant coming online. It's called Born and Braised. The chef is Aaron Bush. He is starting this new restaurant, going into the old Hector's restaurant there on 18th and Liberty Streets. And Aaron, one of our texters is saying, asking what days and hours will the new restaurant be open?
To start, we're going to be Wednesday through Sunday, dinner only. So probably 4 to 9, 4 to 10.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm sorry, say that one more time so I just get that.
To start, we'll be Wednesday through Sunday from about 4 to 9 p.m., 4 to 10 p.m., Friday, Saturday.
Terrific. So again, a weekend or midweek location there, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's more demand or, we do have plans on hopefully adding brunch to the weekends.
Oh, cool.
So, as demand grows, hopefully we'll grow with it.
You're kind of doing a kind of a different approach to the bar service. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So how we're running our alcohol program is we partnered with a local distillery called Altered State on Green Garden Boulevard. So all of our liquor products are going to come through them. Altered State, they distill their own products on site. They get a lot of their grains to do so, I believe from Edinburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So, and then on top of the liquor from them, all of our beer and wine are going to be from local breweries and wineries.
That's cool. That'll be a nice local touch too, and I'm sure, now that whole thing has grown. The whole wine.
It is,
deal
and I can't tout farm to table so much, or they're truly local. But when it comes to the alcohol program, it is genuinely hyper local.
Yeah. So we've got the hours, we've got the the approach. As you kind of walk into this, again, this is a market. I think we're close to 400 restaurants now.
Okay.
In the Metro Erie area. How do you build a niche? Like how are you going to hope to build a steady steady audience, I guess?
Well, genuinity is a big part of it. If we're making all of our products in house, it's definitely not going to be the same product you see at a couple different places. There's a few places in town probably use the same spinach artichoke dip, for instance, or the same pasta or the same French fry.
And they're getting them from like the distributors,
yeah,
right?
From distributors.
And the manufacturers give that, go
exactly. Bar's biggest focus isn't the food, then that's naturally what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big part of it is, we're the only ones that make a certain thing. We're not going to different places making it for them, so we're going to be the only ones with it.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, the menu is going to have constant rotations on it. So whether it's...
How often? Again, all the comparisons to the Bear. He wanted a new menu every night, which is insane.
It is insane. Never seen that in all my travels.
That's Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's Hollywood, but, I'd say the ego part of it is pretty legit.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm going to have a section of the menu. We're going to have a braised meat item. We're going to have a steak. We're going to have a soup, and we're going to have an ice cream. And all of these are going to constantly rotate. And by constantly, I mean, maybe I'll get in 25 orders of a ribeye steak. And then as soon as, it could be in the middle of a Friday night, as soon as I run out of those ribeyes, I already have a hanger steak or a skirt steak behind it ready to go. So it could be almost every other day. It could be once a week.
But don't you have to marinate or rub those things? I mean,
no, nature did all the work. We just have to.
No, so there is like a different approach. You're saying, less is more on
for
seasoning
certain things,
and stuff.
Yeah, certain things. All you really have to do is source properly. You get fresh oysters, you get fresh steak, or even dry aged steak. You get good eggs. There's really not too much you have to do. Big believer in nature did the work. So
Well, that's an interesting concept. When you so in building that niche, that's going to be your angle, kind of, right?
Yeah, well, I really want to. I think education is important. When I had a beer store in Florida, you think Florida and it's cocktails and clubs and things like that. You don't think people brewing their own beer. So I had to educate the public a lot on the fact that how it's made. You can make it at home. It's not made by wizards and elves in some some cave somewhere. So bringing people back to what real food is, and that it just doesn't come out of a bag at Sheetz.
Wow. This isn't a very large market, and some would accuse us of not having an expansive palate.
Right.
Is that a concern of yours, or again, are you going to lean in on education? And I think, by the way, that's a slam that's not necessary.
No, and I'm definitely not here to slam. If anything, I'd say I'm here to sort of educate. But a lot of us, especially my age and older, I'm 39. We remember real food, and it tasted different. It had a different feel to it. It made you feel a certain way. And nostalgia is a big part of food and what I want to bring to the table as well. So, whether it is reimagining classics or bringing back a flavor that you remember from childhood, but it's in a an elevated sort of form, I think that can absolutely work.
Yeah, I mean, growing up Italian, we would just die for my aunt's chicken cutlets and the way she did them with the hand breading and the seasoning and how she fried them, and didn't need dipping sauce for the cutlets because they were so well seasoned. I mean, that kind of thing,
it's
right?
Like, if we don't make something, we're going to find someone local that does. If I don't have the time of the day to bake the bread, I'm going to get it from a local bakery. We are going to grind our own burger meat for certain reasons, and maybe make some sausage. Now, homemade sausage, to have a real good homemade Italian sausage. And then if you were to compare that, not to keep knocking Sheetz, but to compare that to like the sausage on the menu at Sheetz and what society wants you to think sausage tastes like, it would be a no-brainer, what you would choose and why. You would just, your brain and mouth would know the difference.
Yeah. So you said you started doing some hiring. How many people do you expect to be hiring? I mean, what's the economic impact of opening a new mid to high end restaurant in Erie, PA? I mean, what kind of payroll? And not be specific.
No. We're looking to have maybe 6, 8, 9 employees, something like that. I would like everybody to truly enjoy their job and actually have some longevity there. This industry is infamous for turnover, which is unfortunate because, again, a lot of these places are just cookie cutter. There's not a lot of soul there. If there's no soul behind the food, then how's there any, passion behind the people? So, if I can provide a good work environment, I can provide intrigue and creativity through what we do on the daily basis and not have things go stagnant, I think that, we could retain people and we could really, you could walk into the place and have the same people wait on you and they're happy because they're happy with their job and they're happy with you,
I'm kind of intrigued that, that it's planted there in my old neighborhood, and it's not in the, it's not in the West Side. It's in a neighborhood. It's in the city. And again, I hate to always be bringing up the bear, but it has that kind of urban, visceral feel. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so can we? Are we going to be transported, or are we going to embrace that?
No, it's technically like right on the edge of Little Italy, or what used to be Little Italy. Again, I decided not to go Italian with it for a few reasons. So, I can't really play onto what the building really used to offer. But it being a destination spot, I believe when you walk into the place and you walk inside, you're not going to think you're on 18th and Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you said, all American food is influenced from all over the place. Will there be a
There will be Italian.
pasta?
Yeah, there absolutely
I mean,
will.
you just mentioned Italian sausage. That could be
Absolutely.
That could be a real winner around there.
I never pigeonhole myself to a certain cuisine, and I just can't do that, especially with my first general concept.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to do a little bit of everything, and I think the public is going to sort of guide the menu and guide everything where it needs to go.
Can you put those headphones on? We're going to grab a phone call here.
Sure.
I think you're going to enjoy this one. Hey, Phil, you're live on Talk Erie with Aaron from the new restaurant.
You blew my cover. I was going to say I was the president of Sheets.
Nice.
Just out of curiosity, it's such a historical building, and I may have missed part of the interview. I've been trying to listen to it at work and in the car. What kind of shape, and I can hang up, that place has been, I don't know if it's ever been fully redone. What kind of shape was that place in when you got it? Was, not to knock anybody, but I know, I don't know who owns it. It's an old building, very historic. I love the building too. But was it like, oh my God, or was it pretty good shape? And I'll hang up.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it, man.
You're not wrong to think the way you're thinking.
Was it rough? Yeah.
It was a little dark in there, a little dingy. It had been sitting for a little while, but I definitely was able to envision what it could be. And we put in a lot of work and brightened up the space, updated some of the the bathrooms and the fixtures and the bar top and all the equipment and tables and chairs, plates, things like that are all new and modern. So.
Wow. Oh, okay. So the front of house is new and modern.
Absolutely.
I would imagine back of house, there are minimums, for somebody with your experience that you needed to have, right?
Absolutely. Even this morning, we had a dishwashing machine installed, brand new dishwashing machine, and I believe it's the first one that's ever been in the building in over 100 years.
They've never had a dishwasher.
No. Just
Holy
sinks.
Smokes. Wow.
So, it wasn't in the best shape.
Might need a new water heater, right? So,
right. Well, we actually did get a new water heater that's in there. So decided not to use the old ice machine that was there. We went new on that as well. So.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And you mentioned alcohol. Do you plan on having like a skilled bartender?
Absolutely.
Because again, you can get real fancy with that stuff, right?
No, yeah, and I think that we should. Call it what you want to call it, mixology, bartending, whatever it is. I think there's something to be said for nice, clean, clear ice, and infusions made in house, and fresh herbs and fruits. Like all of our juices are going to be fresh. Nothing out of a bottle, nothing frozen. Everything squeezed there right at the bar.
Really, that's really something else. All right. I want to make sure I cover everything here. You kind of mentioned that, there's going to be a good niche for you within the grand, restaurant scene here. What do you think that we're missing in Erie? Because, as we try to attract more and more visitors, as we get more people like you moving back here, or they're coming in for Erie Insurance, or they're coming in for one of the tech companies or the universities, are we missing some things here in the restaurant vibe? I mean, you've just been in Pittsburgh. They've got some cool stuff down there.
Yeah, they're branching out quite a bit. Erie it's not very far across. It's not very expansive. I unfortunately haven't been out quite enough to really have my finger on the pulse, but it seems that a properly, professionally run neighborhood sort of place seems to be lacking. Some place where you have a ton of regulars, people that actually are foodies, for lack of a better word, that do appreciate quality food and know the difference. The people that probably eat at home way more than they go out, because a lot of it is same stuff for bar food. There are a couple good places in town. Seems to me some decent chefs out there doing the right thing. and kind of going against the grain, and it has worked. For instance, Firestones is one.
In Gordon's there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
in Gordon's right there. I don't know him, but from what I see, I like the direction he's going and what he's doing. Bar Ronin seems to be another one in the same vein, and I think they opened a place recently called Lucera.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. Oh, in the same location there.
In the West
Erie
Plaza
Plaza,
there.
yeah.
So there's a couple things like that seem to be, professionals doing it right, keeping small operations and keeping their hands in things.
And that's super important, isn't it? Of like, that's kind of an owner operator, fully committed. All the skin is in the game,
right?
Every day kind of depends. Not on everything is on you, but you being a good leader, right?
Yeah, and if you're ambitious, you want things to be scalable. You don't want to be the only one, but behind the stove for the next 20 years. You want to be able to see a way out, but still, maintain the quality and maintain the standard. Again,
one last connection to the bear, but tell us about how important that sous chef is, or that dessert specialist. I mean, again, you think about that, that back of the house thing.
Everyone has their set roles, and this all goes back to the military brigade system of French. They're the ones that really started it, so it is very important. And you go through these positions, in the proper culinary scenes throughout your career, and the people doing these roles need to be better at it than I am at it, because they're the ones that do it day in and day out. I've done these things, but you have so much more on your mind, and unfortunately, the higher up you sort of go in this business, the further you get away from food, to a point.
That's true, isn't it? Wow.
You can create daily, you can source, you can do all these things, but you're not there learning a dish that well, or how to cook steaks that well, because you're not there cooking 1,000 steaks a day anymore.
Right.
So building that very close relationship with the food is on each of those positions.
There's no doubt. We're going to have to leave it there. It's been a fascinating conversation with Aaron Bush. Aaron, you'll let us know when you have a hard launch there, because I know you're going to have a soft launch, right, with the friends and family and things.
Of course, yes. Signage should be going up this week, if not early next week. I'm sure everyone's going to see it on the corner there. And we will advertise through social media and a couple other outlets.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, again, appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and welcome back to Erie.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty. It is Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show on this Wednesday. Stay with us. News is next.